welcome to Mom's Writers Club. I'm Sarah.
I'm Jessica.
And today we are doing the antidote to our last episode, which was about all the things that are scary about the writing and authoring life. And today we're going to talk about all of the things that we love and that make us happy about the writing and authoring life.
So we will jump right in. But first, please give us a like and a subscribe to help us reach more authors such as yourself. Okay, Sarah, what
Yes.
makes you happiest about writing? Like, what's a moment for you? Happiest?
Well, let's see. Let's pick a recent one. There are many things that make me happy, and it depends on the day. But a recent one is that feeling when you have like fully wrapped your head around your work, like your novel or your short story or whatever it is you're writing, and you've like fully wrapped your head around it, and that whole world and those characters like live in your head, and they're just like fully accessible, like they're real, you know?
No, I totally know what you mean. So I've been writing something new and then revising something. And when I would go back and revise these books I've already written and been revising, I would be able to like drop right in and like know the world and know the characters. And then I'd come over to this new book and I'd be like, who are you again? But
I can feel out
I
this
recently,
voice. I don't really know. What would you say?
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Well, and part of it too is that like as you're going, like some of that stuff changes. At least for me, it does. Over the first 20 or 30,000 words, I start to figure out who they are and maybe what family dynamics are. And so I have to go back and fix that. But I get to a point around between 20 and 30,000 words where I'm like, I know this character and I know everything about them, and I like can feel them and write them. And like, yeah, it's just an awesome feeling when you get to that point
yeah,
and you just feel like you really know who they are and what they would do in a situation. And that's for me when
yeah,
I feel like the book starts to write itself.
yeah, yeah. Because then it's just like you kind of like you're like guiding it, but it's playing itself out because you have this fully formed person in your head who is just like, oh, well, she's in this situation, so here's what she's going to do, and here's what she's going to say, and
Obviously.
here's how she's going to feel, and it's just all right there because she's like this real person in your head, and
Yeah.
that's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, totally.
You
I
just
like
like,
that
it's
one.
just weird to think that like I invented them. Like they don't
When I
really
was a kid,
exist.
and I know that like books and movies have been done on this. When I was a kid, I was sure that like somewhere all of the characters in books that I loved like really existed, you know? And I know that people have like done books about that, but like I still think
Wouldn't that be
about that
cool?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Or I think about like a very like so in our author photo episode, I talked about Laurel K. Hamilton, and she's written the Anita Blake series, which is like 30 some books long at this point. And I just think for her, like that universe must be so big in her head. And it's so weird to think that it's not like totally real, you know? And then
Right.
I have to think maybe it is. I'm just
Right.
gonna go with
Right.
my magical thinking.
Well, I just read a book recently that was like all about alternative universes and
Oh,
stuff like
really?
that. Like how like different threads, like the way that your life could go. Like what if you made this decision, or what if that happened, and it would have set
Fiction
off
or
this whole like
nonfiction?
fiction.
What
And
was it called?
it was really well done. I can't tell you because it's in a contest. But anyway, it was really
I
good.
will be harassing you at a later time for the title of that book.
And yeah, it was good. And it was like there is like an alternative universe maybe where all these people exist. Okay, how about you? What's one of your
I was
favorite
waiting
things
for
that makes you happy?
I was waiting for our conversation to get into some science fiction topics there, and I was actually kind
Mm.
of excited about it. When I am at the point I'm ready to send my agent a manuscript that like my book is done and my critique partners have looked at it and I've revised it, and I'm like rereading the email at least 20 times before I hit send, even though it's only like 2 lines long because it's just an attachment. But when I like am at that point where I'm like ready to send her a book, or when it's time to like send my editor something and I've like worked hard on it and it's like ready to go, it's awesome because it's
Mhm.
like the summation of all those little moments and all that work into one little
A little
button
ding.
push.
Yep.
Yep.
And honestly, I felt that way. So I queried 3 novels before I got my agent on number 3. And I felt like that when I started querying, you know?
Yeah.
And as brutal as querying is with the rejections and everything, I still felt like that every time. There was like a little bit of that feeling every time I hit
It's
send.
hope. It's like a little bit of hope.
This little feeling
Yeah.
like I did this thing and I'm sending it out there, and who knows, something cool might happen,
I would feel that way when I would send a batch of queries out. I'd send like 4 or 5 out at a time, like not massive, like I personalize each and every one, but yeah, I would feel like a little glowy afterwards being like, one of them might be my someday agent.
I know. That's a good feeling. I'm getting close to that feeling. I have a June 1st deadline to send my book to my editor.
It's going to be great.
So, yeah.
Okay, next.
Getting feedback from your awesome critique partners and beta readers, like when you get their email back and you know that you have your manuscript there and it's all like marked up and there's all this stuff in there that's going to make it better, and you're just like,
can I be honest? I hate that.
Oh, I love it.
And I know that like all of my critique partners are both wonderful, nice, honest people, but I do not feel that way about that. I feel that way like afterwards when I'm like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it might be, but I get really scared when I get that email. But I love the individual comments. The book that just went to my editor, I still remember this comment that well, actually, I remember the comment you left as well, Sarah, but the comment that Evie left as well. Basically, it's like a very creepy book, and where the twist is near the end, they both left these comments that I still like cackle about every time.
I know.
I think you called me a sociopath in that particular comment.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
I think you did at the time.
No, but like I used to come home from, when I took writing workshops, and they would workshop one of my short stories or something like that. And then when we were all done, everybody would hand it back to me with all their, all their commentary and everything. And I'd go home with this like stack of papers, like comments on my work. I was just it was like Christmas. I would like get home and go through my stack and be like, I don't know, maybe I'm a masochist, but I liked that part. I do like it when people leave happy comments though. The hearts and the happy faces and stuff like that.
I will have you know, when I finished reading your manuscript last night, I didn't finish your whole manuscript, but at the end of the chapter, I drew 3 hearts in purple. I'm going to do this one next. An agent contacting you wanting a phone call is the
holy shit.
Yeah. If you haven't had that feeling yet, just wait, because you will.
It's coming your way.
Keep going. You can't stop. You have to keep going and getting better and working on it and querying and putting yourself out there. It is the best feeling. It is especially the best feeling if you got a rejection earlier in the day and are very sad about it, and you're like, great, another rejection.
Oh, that reminds me.
Yes.
Of another fun feeling. And I hope those of you who are not agented or published yet, that this happens for you too, because this is very fun, is that after you have gotten signed with an agent and after your book has sold to an editor, you get a rejection from something you sent like 6 months ago. You're just
I don't care.
You're like, I do not care about that rejection anymore.
And it'll happen. I got a rejection on like the book before the one I got the agent with. So they'd had it for 18 months, I think, before they rejected it. And I was just like, joke's on you.
I appreciate you closing the loop, but
I don't care.
Too bad for you.
Okay, let's talk about the writing retreat next.
Can
we talk about that one now? I know. It was so much fun. I know we have a whole episode. We have like 2 episodes on writing retreats, and soon we'll have a 3rd. But it's just the best feeling to show up and have like, it's kind of like when you send out the queries and you have like all this hope. It's like this anticipation for this amazing weekend that is going to be as amazing as you think it's going to be. It was just so awesome. And like, I just remember being in the sunlit kitchen with Sarah and Evie and like chatting and drinking wine, and we were just buzzing, like we were so excited. And it was everything we thought it would be.
Having those to look forward to is so great too. Just like when I even look on my calendar and see that I've got something like coming up in a couple months like that, I'm just like, yay me, lucky me.
My face is already hurting. We're smiling so much. I mean, I'm glad we are.
I know, we needed this. We're having kind of like, it's
a rough week, everybody.
A lot of shit going on.
We recorded another Mom's Writers Club rant episode that we may or may not ever post, but this is the upswing after that
Yeah.
one.
Okay. What else? I love to write about sex.
I want to
I
talk
think
about
it's
this too, but you go
I
first.
think it's really fun. I love it when I get to that point in my book where my characters have sex and I'm like, oh, phew, like got that out of the way. Now I feel like I can really like relax.
That's so funny. I guess I've written sex into two of my books now, but one it's totally off screen. It literally is like they fuck and then they fuck again. End of story. But in the book before that, it's now a deleted scene, unfortunately. I remember trying to write this sex scene and it was so hard. I had to like wait until night when nobody was going to interrupt me. And then I was so proud of myself afterwards. And I was like, I did it. I did the thing. But I was also like blushing furiously, the blushing now.
You get used to it.
Do you?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, my version of that, since I write thrillers, is when you get to that scene where you get to do like the twist or the turn, or it's the first time that you hope you have successfully tricked the reader. It is such a good feeling. You're like, bam, that's right, I did that. And I bet nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
But if they think about it, they should have seen that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's such a good feeling.
That is a good feeling. I have my little version of that, with what I write too. When you're like, oh, I did not think that's what was going to happen. And like, especially when your agent or your editor or your critique partner or something like that is like, that's not what I expected. Then you're like, yes.
Oh, okay. So on that topic,
yeah.
When my agent read my last book, she does like inline comments, but I also get like a separate document with like chapter by chapter stuff. And sometimes it's blank. Like if there's nothing to be said, there's nothing to be said. But it was fun when she got to certain twists. I could tell like which twist she had gotten to without looking up what happened in which chapter, just by like her like exclamation marks in the comments. And so fun. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I remember getting my first full request. Getting a request on your manuscript when you're querying is like such a good feeling. I remember two in particular. One, my first one, I remember because it was actually someone I had like followed up with because they had requested during a pitch event and never replied. And then I followed up, and then she requested the full, which I was like so terrified to follow up with her. And then the other one was when I was querying book 3, so the book before that the one I got my agent with, and I got my first request in like 12 hours. And after going through 2 books and only getting one request out of like 2 books, like over 100 queries to get quick turnaround like that, I was like, I guess my query letter worked. That's what I thought. Let me see. Jill mentioned on Twitter, when hearing that their writing like really moved a reader, or she specifically mentioned like that it made them cry. Like that's really cool. I can't imagine making anyone cry with my writing. That would be very cool.
Yeah. I love it when people quote me back to myself.
Oh, really?
Every now and then somebody will be like, giving me feedback or telling me what they thought of my book. And they were like, yeah, that part, like sometimes they'll literally quote me back, like this line that they loved, or like my sister read my book and she was like, there was this one scene where this happened. And she was like, I just loved that. And it was like this very specific moment in the book. And it wasn't even like one of the big scenes, it was just this moment that she really loved. And
that's cool.
And I don't know, when people know, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. When people notice things in my work that like, I didn't even notice. Like
that's cool.
When they like see something in it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. And I didn't even really think about that,
That's awesome. That makes me think a little bit of the first book that Sarah and I worked on together, like her as my critique partner, was a book I called Lady Justice. And to this day, occasionally Sarah will mention like a part of it or a scene or like something between the characters. And it's very cool that like, because it's been like 2 years almost since you read that, I think, that you still think about that book is like such a good feeling. and that you liked the characters and the way they it was kind of, there was like some romantic tension, so that that she caught onto that and like loved their back and forth so much. Very good feeling. Oh, okay. Do you ever, when you're reading your book, probably for revision purposes, and you realize that you stopped revising it because you're just like so enthralled and you're like, what's going to happen next?
Just like you're reading your own book. Yeah. Yeah.
I did write it, so I know it's going to happen. But like when it feels like it's that good that you're just reading it, like you're just engrossed with it. And that does happen if you haven't been reading it a lot. So if you've read your book 18 times and you're bored with it, that's fine. It's because you've read it 18 times. That's not going to happen. But like, if you haven't read it in a while, or your first or second time reading through, I love
that feeling like when you finish your book and then you leave it for a week or 2 or 3 or whatever you do, and then you come back to it and it's not a total trash fire, and you're like, and it's actually kind of good. Like you're like, oh yeah, there's a couple of bumpy spots. This may or may not be exactly where I am right now. Trying not to look at it. But like you're like, yeah, there's some bumpy spots, but like it's a book, like and you're like, oh my God, I did it.
Yeah, I love that feeling.
And the feeling when you do it again, like
you
it's
mean
really
because
great.
you're working on your second book?
Or your third book or your fourth book or whatever it is. But like that feeling that it wasn't just like that I've got more than one in me.
Yeah.
I
hear you. Or specifically, like not just that you have more than one in you, but that you can write another book that is as good or better than like the one that got you your agent, for example. Because for a little while I was like, I know I can write another book. Like I'm not worried about that. I'm worried that it won't be as good as this book. But now I'm over that feeling. And I'm glad to hear that you are as well.
What else? Writing dialogue is really fun when your characters just start talking to each other.
Yeah.
And they're just like having this, I don't know, especially when they're being kind of like snarky, and
it's different between different characters, but it's kind of like, it's like you and I can talk forever, Sarah. And it's like when you have two characters that have like a certain chemistry between them. And it's so interesting how like some characters are like they just are, they dislike each other. And then other ones do like each other, but it's like the real people and they have these real relationships. And
yeah,
we probably sound a lot out there right now, but some people listening know what we're talking about. Oh,
I love.
Go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay. I still remember the moment I finished the first book I ever wrote. And that was such an amazing feeling, because I had started and stopped like probably at least 20 books since the time I was like a teenager. And some of it was that I was okay not finishing them. My goal was not to like write a book, but I got to the point where my goal was to like complete a whole book. And I had many false starts over the years. Many times I started NaNoWriMo and never finished. But the time that I actually finished was Christmas Eve. My daughter was like 4 months old. It was at like 8:30 p.m. And I remember being like, the end, even though in school they always tell you like, don't, the readers will know when you're at the end, but no, you write the end.
Oh yeah.
I printed the whole thing off. Yeah. And I took like 1 billion photos with my like giant, book, and told my husband about it. And he was just like, okay.
That's
you didn't get what I was doing
feeling.
yet. I didn't know what I was doing yet, but
that
was a great feeling. I mean, finishing any book, right, feels amazing. But especially that first one, when
where you're like, oh my God, I actually can do it.
I did it. Because once you've done it once, you can do it again.
I love going for a walk or a run or something like that, and like daydreaming through a new idea. And I didn't know I loved that so much until I've been in this cast for 6 weeks almost. And today I went out on my little knee scooter out in front of my house for maybe 10 minutes going up and down the sidewalk. And I realized, oh, right. Like when I kind of like space out and start like just dreaming through a new idea and like just allowing things to start taking up space in my head. And I love that,
I agree. I get the same
So
thing.
in the moment.
I get the same thing when I'm out running, and I sit and I'm constantly like, "Hey Siri, take a note," and I like stop taking a note, Siri, and I record it because I'm pushing my daughter's stroller usually. It's kind of similar how people get inspired while they're like taking showers and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get inspired while taking showers, but I do think to text people back while in the shower and text them back.
I don't
Not
really,
to mention names.
the shower is not a creative place for me, but like
Me
right
neither.
before I fall asleep, after I've like turned off the light and
Really?
everything. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
That's when I make a lot of notes. Sometimes
You know,
several. I'm like, oh, I gotta do it. I gotta do it, or I'm just gonna sit here thinking about it.
talk to your phone about it.
Yeah, I know I have
Hey,
been
Siri.
doing that. Yeah. And it's very funny because I sound so sleepy and I talk really slow, you know.
I've heard you and you sound like that. Oh, if I start thinking about my book at bedtime like that, I won't sleep. Like I cannot let myself do it. I have to shut it off, or I
Oh,
will
I wish I
stay
could
up
do that.
and like
Yeah.
my mind will start going, and then I just won't
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah. Story of my life. Okay. What else? Kvetching to your writing besties. It just feels really good to have somebody to talk to when you are having a problem. You know, when there is something going on with your plot or your character, you're like, this is never gonna work, you know, just having your friend to call. So Jess left me a message yesterday and I was cooking, like I was listening to the radio and I was cooking and I was drinking and I was like got the stuff on the stove and I'm like trying to listen to this message and she's like, I just gotta think through this plot point. And like she kind of went through the whole thing and by the end of the message she was like, okay, I got it, that's cool, okay, I'm done,
Never mind.
bye.
Thanks for listening.
And I was like,
These are voice messages that we're leaving.
yeah, voice messages to like over text. And I was like, that's great, I'm really glad you figured that out because I couldn't follow that at all. But like,
Well, the worst or maybe
I am
best
here
part
for
was
you.
that like 20 minutes later, I was like, oh my God, I'm wrong. That doesn't work. So then I just start all over.
Yeah.
It's this very complicated plot, but I think
But it
I
is
have figured
so
out.
like this goes in the category of like find your writing
Yeah.
people, like find your people. It's so important to like
And
have
then
somebody to celebrate with
and keep trying. It's going to take a while. You know, it took me over a year of trying and exchanging pages, and it's not overnight. Like I think Sarah and I exchanged pages and like only mostly emailed for over like close to a year, I think.
Yeah.
And same thing with Jamie, my other critique partner. We did not become like good friends overnight. You know, it takes time. And there were a lot of people I exchanged pages with that they were great. There's nothing wrong. They just either we only exchanged pages or, you know, we didn't love each other's writing.
It just didn't
Yeah.
click. Yeah.
But just keep going because you'll find them. And there's something else I was going to say. Oh, the moment you realize you're friends with your critique partner and you're like,
Yes.
I have a friend. I have a writing friend.
Right. And like honestly, as an adult, like to be like, oh my God, I have a new friend.
Oh, something I love. And it's adjacent to writing. So we've talked about how it gets a little harder to find books you absolutely love as a writer because you judge things much more harshly and you notice things that you didn't notice before.
Yeah.
But when you find a book that is amazing, like, and as a reader and as a writer, you're just like, how the fuck did they do that? I have to like reread this now and take notes this time.
Yeah.
That is like such an amazing feeling. Like I can like point out the books on my bookshelf that I feel that way about because I do not forget them.
Yep. And we both have an experience ahead of us of actually seeing our books in real life. I think that will be very fun, but I don't know yet. I think there will be some champagne.
Obviously. What else would there be not champagne? I have on my calendar like when my book comes out, but I also have on my calendar when the person is going to like get a hold of me to like talk to me about how many copies of my physical book I want. It's like right here in front of me and I'm like
I can't wait. Off.
Okay. We have a few questions that are unrelated to this topic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And So this one is from Jess Sara, and it has to do with querying. And we actually have done a couple episodes on querying. We have a whole, they call it a playlist on like the writing life, and I think one on querying specifically. So look at that because we go more in depth on this topic there, but we can do a quick answer for you. Jessica wanted to know best tips and places for debut authors to start looking for agents for querying outside of just a Google search or their tweets. So we've definitely talked a little bit about this, but Query Tracker, manuscriptwishlist.com, mswishlist.com. I feel like we're missing one though. Oh, Publishers Marketplace is a great place.
Publishers Marketplace,
Yeah, it's $25 a month, but it's well worth it. And you can like actually look within your genre and see like who is selling your genre, like which agents are selling it, and what the like top 100 agents are who represent that genre.
Yeah.
Query Tracker, like you can actually do a search and like program in what you want. We did a screen share on how to use Manuscript Wishlist or MS Wishlist on one of our other videos. So take a look through our history and you'll see those.
The backs of books that you love, like the acknowledgments of books that you love that are like your book. People almost always thank their agent.
Bethany had a question. She said, can you talk about how you prepare to promote your books? Which I think is kind of its own episode. But just to take a few things off the list, for me, I'm doing a launch team. My publisher's doing like some placed ads for me on Facebook and on Instagram. I made sure I had like my website updated. I'm talking about it on Twitter and on Instagram, but not like obsessively so. In your debut group, you can talk to other authors, and there are debut groups on Facebook. And usually there's like a Slack one. You can just look around and you'll find it for whatever your year is. And they will have all kinds of ideas.
Have a mailing list, have an email list. It's so old school, but that's what all of the pros say. Like, have an email list. The email list is totally gold.
Yeah.
Like start building it now.
Yeah, I think before I got my book deal, I already had 50 people on my list. And most of them are friends and family, but not all of them were. Having a good website with like ways to reach you. Podcasts, booking podcasts ahead of time, Instagram Live, Facebook Live. Like those are some of the big things that I've been working on. But also keep in mind, don't try to do everything. You won't be able to, and you'll be exhausted and probably
and pick the stuff that feels like
out.
Sort of natural to you and like feels like this is something I want to do or I'm comfortable doing. You don't have to force yourself to do something that doesn't work for you.
I am unexpectedly really loving working with my launch team. I post a couple times a week on the Facebook group, and I also send out a newsletter for people who aren't on Facebook. And it's actually just been really fun. And I've connected with people who I've like kind of known through social media, but not like really known them. And it's just been
to know people better.
And people are so supportive. So having that type of group where like everybody is there because they want to help you is, I think, just wonderful. Anyway, thank you for joining us as we talk about all the wonderful and happy things about being a writer. Please give us a like and a subscribe. You can find us every other Wednesday night doing our Moms Writers Club chat on Twitter, and that is just hosted from my Twitter feed. I am at Author Jess Payne.
And I am at Sarah Reed Author.
And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. We do writing sprints as a group on Zoom, and we also notify you when we have a chat coming up. Thanks for joining us. Bye.